Hi there. The issue of speech marks and using them correctly in writing is something that high school students still really struggle with. If we have a look at the next question that pops up, you'll have 4 options. In 10 seconds, can you select the correct one? Good luck. Okay, so one by one, let's look at our options and let's have a look at what the errors were, how to correct them, and how to know for next time. Okay, firstly, A was incorrect for a number of reasons. First thing you should have noticed is, of course, that somebody's name was spelled with a small letter. Never okay. Secondly, there's a question here. How are you? But there's no question mark. Thirdly, at the end of the sentence, there should always be a full stop question mark or an exclamation mark. Here there's nothing. In this case, it should have been a full stop. And finally, the closing speech marks are just quite simply in the wrong place. Nobody said, "How are you?" asked Susan. The words that were spoken were, "How are you?" Okay, guys, so let's have a look at this one. In this case, the speech marks are in exactly the wrong place. So you've got to remember, speech marks indicate the words that are spoken by a character. So here's Susan. What are the words that she's speaking? Think about that for a second. If you said, "How are you?" you're correct. That's it. Susan says the words, "How are you?" But, of course, consider the narrator or the storyteller. There's me. What am I reading? Now, if you consider the job of a narrator or storyteller or a writer, their job is to tell you what somebody has said, which means you need to include a replied or an asked or an exclaimed. In this case, we've quite simply said, Susan asked a question, so how are you? Asked Susan. Remember, these are the words spoken by the narrator and not the character. All right, so let's look at option C. Why was this wrong? Well, there's only one error here, and it's the capital A in asked. An exclamation mark or a question mark at the end of speech can function as a full stop, but it can also function as a comma. It could be a short pause. How are you? Asked Susan. A long pause just wouldn't make sense in this case. How are you? Asked Susan. We notice that asked Susan is certainly not a full sentence, so I start it with a capital letter. There's your rule. A question mark or exclamation mark can fill in for a comma or a full stop. And it's your job. Read it aloud to see which one it is. Is it a short pause or a long pause? Of course, the obvious point here is that asked Susan is not a sentence, so we cannot use a capital letter. Alright, so here's our correct answer and your checklist. Is the speech inside the speech marks? Yes, it is. Is the punctuation for the speech, in other words, the question mark, inside the speech marks? Yes, it is. There's a short pause, so I use a small a for asked. And obviously, other grammar rules always apply. Susan's name must always have a capital. There must always be an ending at the end of a sentence, in this case, a full stop. Now, as we move on to the next 3 slides, have a look and choose the correct answer in each case. Good luck. Okay, so it'd be interesting to know what you got for those 3 questions. Maybe I didn't give you enough time there, but go back, watch the video again, check it out, and see where you might have gone wrong, where you can improve on next time. Just as a summary quickly then, always remember, anything that you see in a cartoon or a graphic novel coming out of a speech bubble, out of a character's head, that's what goes into speech marks, is the words spoken by a character in a story, novel, poem, song. Everything else is the narrator telling the story. No need to put that into exclamation marks. Remember your pauses. If it's a short pause, you're going to be using a small letter. If you're starting a new sentence, use a big letter. All the basic rules of grammar still apply. Good luck, and see you again. Cheers.